everyone. My name is Emma Kunaka, and I live in Red Deer, Alberta, Canada. And I am a proud mom of three wonderful boys, and my husband Gilmore is just an amazing support. And we are proud to call Canada home now for the past 12 years. And in those 12 years, we've had some of the most amazing people that have been in our lives, that we have connected with, that we are proud to call more than just friends. They are now part of our family. So today we have created a platform where we just want to celebrate some women. I've had an opportunity to do live with some of the greatest people from all walks of life, different backgrounds, that have been able to do life with, and just enjoyed knowing their culture, knowing who they are, and just want to put a spotlight on them. Just want to say how much we appreciate them. Most often, we do not celebrate each other. We are just, we don't even acknowledge each other. We want to be able on this platform to put a spotlight on some of those special people and just highlight the greatness that is in them. They're all unique and just wonderful people that I've had the opportunity to do life with. So to start off this amazing journey, I have my wonderful friend with me today, Sheralyn Atchison. And I have known Sheralyn now for the past 12 years. And we connected right away because we are both mothers. We both love the Lord, and we both love to serve people. We love culture. We love diversity. We love getting into each other's worlds and getting into other people's, crossing the boundaries.
Yeah.
And so what an honor it is to get to be in this amazing woman's life. She's been a great support system to me as well as my family, and we just enjoy doing life together. So I am putting her on the spotlight today. It's all about Sheralyn. We want to get to know who she is, what her purpose and calling in the life is. She's done touched so many people's lives. We want to hear a little bit about that. And also, she will be co-hosting with me for future chats that we'll be having in not so distant future. So stay tuned.
Right.
We are going to be having some of the most amazing, unique women that we'll be celebrating very, very soon. So Miss Sheralyn, like, who are you? What is your background? Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, first of all, I love that we're finally doing this. We've been talking about this for a year,
Right?
and it's all in timing.
Yes.
And now is the time.
That's right.
I was born so many years ago,
Yes.
1973,
Wow.
in Vancouver, British Columbia. Beautiful city. But I grew up in southern Manitoba, and then I moved to Red Deer in 1995.
Mm.
And it was shortly after I moved here that I met my husband, Sean, and we became best friends. And a year and a half later, we were married.
Awesome.
And it's been quite the ride.
Yeah.
I come from a really great family, and on both sides. And I had some time in my teenage life that I became a drug addict, and I wasn't fulfilling any purpose in my life. And when I moved to Red Deer, it was on purpose. And I moved here because I knew I had to leave that life behind, and I knew how to do it, and I knew that it was by surrendering my life to Christ.
Awesome.
That was the only way that I could do that.
That's
and
amazing.
So I did that.
Oh, that's amazing.
And Sean and I married in 96, I think the same year as you and Gilmore.
That's correct.
And we immediately knew that we were called to something bigger than here.
Right.
And so my grandparents had been traveling to India all my life. And so India was always in my blood.
Wow.
And so Sean and I made it, one of our goals was to go to India with my grandparents and my mom, who also accompanied them. And it was in 2000 that we made our first trip to India.
Wow. Amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And it was eye-opening. And it was, I had never left North America. I had been all over North America, but I had never left the Western culture.
Right.
And so it was an incredible journey to get there. And this is a funny story, but the first time I ever went to India, I didn't like Indian food.
Oh.
And so the whole trip, I never ate Indian food. I had Chinese food and I had Western food. And I fell so in love with the people that I met that when I left India, I started craving the food.
Oh, that is awesome.
And now I love Indian food.
I know. We've
gone for good Indian food
to get some Indian food. So she's also got me hooked to Indian food. Yeah.
So that was the beginning of our marriage.
Wow.
Was pursuing that, and then we adopted our first daughter, McCartney.
Yes.
Who we adopted from the U.S.
Amazing
She's
girl.
Our beautiful Cajun queen from Louisiana.
Yes, McCartney.
And she was 3 years old when we moved to India. And since then, we have another adopted child that we adopted from India.
Wow.
We adopted a little girl while we were in India from Nepal who passed away from cancer. And since coming back to Canada, we have adopted 2 more children who have their heritage in the Indigenous community. And so I am the whitest person in my whole entire family.
You know what? I agree, because that's the first thing that really stuck out to me when I met my friend Sheralyn. I am like, she is white. And not even her husband is as white as you are.
No.
But what an amazing spirit and soul, because that's how we then connected. Just the love for people and love just for a different culture, different background, and just experiencing each other's, the diversity and just the culture, right?
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you, because I was born and raised in Zimbabwe, so this is Africa, then moved to the United States in Dallas. I stayed there for 8 years. The family moved again, and we are right now here in Canada, and this is home for us. We're privileged and honored to call this our home. But my question for you, and just can you explain to me, because this is something that I have grown to through this whole experience of moving from your country of birth. What was some of the challenges that you experienced when you were in India? I know there was the cultural shock. You talked about the food, but you guys, you and your husband, you also are ministers. You're pastors,
right? So
you went there on a mission.
We did.
And so, could you just explain to us how that all worked out and what it was like? What are some of the hurdles that you had to go through?
We had visited India, taken missions trips several times before we were actually relocating to there. And the first thing we discovered was that living somewhere is so different than visiting there.
That's so true.
So different.
Yeah.
And we didn't even know. I mean, we were blessed with a network of people that helped us every step of the way. And I know a lot of people don't have that when they move overseas, but we already, because of everything that my family had established in India, we already had family there. And so they were very quick to answer any question we had.
Oh, that's amazing.
And they helped us find our first home. They taught us how to open a bank account, which took over a month to open a bank account. They taught us how to get our cell phones and our SIM cards and how to pay our electrical bills, which was so different than here. Where to buy our groceries, where to get just the things that are so common here that you can go to a big box store.
Yes,
You know,
that's right.
Walmart sells everything all under one
Yes,
roof,
yes,
literally.
true. Yeah.
And the city where we lived at the time when we moved there had, there was one section of the city that sold hardware,
Okay.
and there was one section that sold fabrics, and there was one section that sold furniture. Like, it was all different.
Yeah.
And it took forever to get anywhere because the traffic, if you've ever seen
yes.
any videos of traffic in India, it's
Right.
true.
Yeah.
And so it takes forever to get anywhere. And that was the other thing, was driving. Having
yes.
to learn how to drive with the steering wheel on the
Absolutely.
other side.
That's right.
And driving on the other side of the street.
Yeah.
And but I gotta say, I learned how to drive there and I loved it.
Oh, that's amazing. Yes.
Loved it. And that was hard. The other hard things were just learning about the culture.
Yes.
And being sensitive to the culture, because when we would try to teach people Bible culture, they would immediately, as soon as you brought up the word culture, they would go, we are protecting our culture. The Indian culture is a good culture.
Right.
And they were scared that we were bringing in the Western culture because of what the UK did when
That's right. Yes.
So trauma
Okay.
creates responses in cultures.
Right.
And so we had to really learn, why do they believe this way?
Right. Correct.
Why do they do things this way?
Yeah.
And is that wrong? And a lot of times it wasn't wrong. It was just different.
It was different. And that was a lifestyle.
That was a lifestyle.
That's who they were.
Yeah.
That's their identity. But I like the word sensitive. You use the word sensitive because, yes, you have to be sensitive.
Very sensitive.
That plays an important part and role in trying to establish a relationship, just even with anybody.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so would you, and I'm sure you have some highlights.
Oh, yeah.
I can just imagine. Would you like to share some of the greatest memories that you had in India? I know there is a lot. We don't have
so
time.
Many.
But what are some of the things that you would just remember and
the
think
greatest highlights, without a doubt, first and foremost, our son Leroy.
Leroy, yeah.
He just turned 13, and he's definitely the highlight of our time. And then our daughter Prashansa, that passed away. She was another highlight, and we still laugh at memories that come up because she was so wonderful.
Yeah.
The people that we met, our highlights were the relationships that were built.
I agree.
And the highlights, even now, when I reconnect with people that, my grandpa first met. That is a highlight to me when I get to meet with them, when I go back to India, and they've come on train overnight to see me because of what my grandpa poured into them.
Right.
And they come and we can pour into each other now.
That's awesome.
And so, without a doubt, the highlights are the people.
The people.
What do we miss about India? The people.
The people.
The people, the food.
Yes.
Indian food here is good, but it's not as good as there.
Okay.
I have an Indian mom and dad, and, she walked me through so many things that my mom couldn't walk me through because she wasn't there.
Right.
And, like sitting with a dying child for 3 weeks while the body, like, she sat with me. I was in the hospital in India for 3 days, and that was always one of my biggest fears.
Wow, yes.
And yet she sat with me. She slept overnight in the hospital on a cot. She read the Bible to me. She encouraged me. She wouldn't let me feel sorry for myself.
Awesome.
She just made sure that I was taken care of. And so the highlights are the people.
That's awesome. I mean, I just, like you, the highlight for my family being here, the people as well. We have had people the moment we got to the city that reached out to us, opened their homes, invited us for Christmas. We talked about culture, we learned, even though I haven't attempted to go skiing or skating yet, just because I don't want to break my leg. And because Canada, for us, it's beautiful, but it is very cold.
So cold.
So cold. And those are some of the challenges and some of the things that we actually had to go through.
Yeah.
But it was all overshadowed. The challenges were for us and are still overshadowed by the people and the relationships that we've, that have been established with the people, the heart for people, the love, unconditional love, the genuine, you are there for me and I'm there for you.
Yes.
So relationships, very important.
Very important.
So my husband actually, he likes to talk about your family as the United Nations, just because you say McCartney is American.
Yes.
Leroy is Indian.
Yep.
And then you had your daughter.
Yep, Nepali.
Nepali. And then now you have
Canadian.
Canadian.
True Canadian.
True Canadian.
Yes.
And I just want, like, how do you balance that? And, what is it like in your family, given the different individual sort of characters?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, when you adopt internationally, you have to take an international adoption course.
Okay.
And in it, they teach you what to expect from wherever you might be adopting from.
Yeah.
Procedures, all of that thing. But they also teach you about adoption.
Right.
And they teach you about how important it is to make sure your child's culture is celebrated.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so they want to know,
really good.
How are you going to maintain your child's culture?
Wow.
And make sure that they celebrate and know that they can be proud of that.
Wow.
And so when we adopted McCartney, I remember I went to Walmart to develop some photos, because back then you had to develop them.
Right.
And the guy at the photo studio said, he handed me my pictures and he said, "You must have just adopted her."
Aww.
And I said, "Yeah, like last week." And he said, "We have an adopted daughter from Guatemala." And he said, "What we did was, before our kids knew what the word adoption meant, they knew it made mommy and daddy happy."
Oh, that is the greatest story ever.
And so we were like, we're going to take that and we're going to use that. Yeah. And so we have always celebrated adoption.
So good.
Because of where I came from in my life, I know that adoption is the heart of God.
Oh, yes.
And so
absolutely,
I celebrate adoption because that's how we built our family.
Right.
But in the last, I would say 2 years, because McCartney is growing up and getting ready to be an adult and have her own life,
right,
I've had to reassess how I parent, because have I done enough to send her out?
Wow.
Have I put enough in her? Does she know how much she's loved? Does she know that she can love me and her birth mom? Does she know that she was chosen?
Wow.
So all of these things. So I have started following transracial adopted children on Instagram.
Right.
I've started following birth moms because I want to hear their stories.
Yes, absolutely.
McCartney's adoption was closed, so we have no contact with her birth mom.
Okay.
Leroy's adoption was a very poor slum family in India who we met. We went to court. We did all the necessary things to gain guardianship of him, and then they left the city and went back, probably never to be seen again. And Dylan and Trinity were adopted from the foster system.
Okay.
but we maintain relationship with their grandma.
All right, that's awesome.
And so our kids need to know that, we're adopted, but we adopt all of you.
Yes.
Every part of you.
Yeah.
And you can love outside of our family.
That is amazing. And I'm just going to stop you there and just, isn't that the heart of God though?
I believe it
we
is.
are all adopted. We are all part of God's plan as like one big family. And so that is just an amazing background. And, I have often wondered what it's like to be in your shoes. And you've put it so well, and just the preparation of it. You just don't go into things like this blindfolded. There's a lot of preparation. There's a lot of mental stuff that goes on in your head.
A lot.
But I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for providing a home for these kids. It's a gift. That is one of the things that makes you, somebody so great. You have made a difference in these other people's lives, in your kids. You're a great mom, and I know
not always
and I know that moms are heroes, and I just know that it is not an accident. It is all part of God's wonderful plan that these children are in your life. So that brings me to another question, because you and I, we both have kids that are of a different color, and this day, and we are looking at what is happening right now with all the racial injustice, and where people are now having the conversation to what it is, and where there's a need to talk about this injustice. I believe that it's one of those issues that has been silenced for a long time, and it actually hit home to me, because recently we've had to sit down our kids. 2 of them were born in the US, and we've had to have the talk with them and say, just in case in the future you want to go back to live in the States, you need to act appropriately when the law enforcement agents or the law enforcement people stop you, and just going through the motions with them of what to say, how you behave, and so what is going on in your mind, like as a white parent with all these kids from the different backgrounds? What are your thoughts on what is going on right now?
I am heartbroken for our world. And racism, I think, is a symptom of just the evil in the hearts of man. But I also believe that it is rooted in cultural ignorance. And it is so important that we learn, why do we believe what we believe? But not just that, take it even further. What do I believe? What do I believe about different races? And in Canada, definitely there is racism against Blacks.
Yes, correct, yes.
But I would say racism against the Indigenous people,
that too,
is to Canada what it is against Blacks in the States. And so as much as I stand for my African and my Black brothers and sisters, because your lives all matter.
Thank you.
I also look at my Indigenous kids and my friends who have faced the racism here in our hospitals. In when you start opening your eyes and you start seeing the reality and actually being empathetic to the struggles that other people have, then we can start to change. And I found this quote that says, when we remain silent and on the sidelines, we are complicit in maintaining unjust systems.
Wow.
And I am very mama bear.
Yeah.
And when something comes against my kids,
Right.
don't cross me.
Don't cross her.
And so I've had to educate myself.
Right.
I have had to learn about white privilege. And I know that is a term that most white people hate and they get defensive about.
Yeah.
But it's not all bad.
No.
We are privileged, and thank God for the privilege. But when we use that privilege against other people is when we have the problem. And it is so easy.
It's easy
to fall into abusing that.
Right. Yes.
And so I think it really hit home when I had to sit my Black daughter down and talk about what was going on in the States. And I can talk about it because I've never had to endure it. But when I'm talking about it and looking into the eyes of my Black daughter and seeing how she must feel about that and why would it matter what my, and having to say, I don't want to send you out in the world with white privilege.
Right.
And that's a big one because she may not know she has it.
Right.
But when people look at her
right.
and they prejudge,
yes,
they don't see what maybe she's been raised with.
Absolutely.
And so we've had to really look at, are we doing it right?
Right, okay.
And are we equipping our kids to be able to handle this? And the one thing that has kind of become our mantra is forgive always.
Always.
Love anyways.
Yeah.
And keep your heart soft.
That is awesome.
And like I said to her, people might see you and judge you.
Yeah.
But the minute you approach them and bridge that, cross that boundary, and they get to know who you are, they will love you right away.
Yeah, I love that. That's an amazing quote. And I just love what you said there too about, crossing. Because for me, I think it just goes both ways.
Right.
And in trying to, even when, we talk about trying to find a way forward, how we can move forward, how we can possibly bridge the gap. To me, I'm thinking I also have work to do. I also should reach out to my white brothers and sisters. I also should reach out to that person that doesn't look like me, that is coming from a different background, that has a different belief system, a different culture. And I think the easiest place to start, it's just showing love.
Yes.
Just showing love, loving people, genuine love, and gaining their trust. Because I grew up in an apartheid type of an environment where it was black and white, where literally places were marked whites only, black only. And when we got our independence in 1980, just to tell you how bad this whole thing was, they wanted to keep the blacks, the kids, out of the schools. The private schools shot up everywhere, and these schools their school fees was just so up there, very expensive, and it was all designed to keep out the African kids. But you know what? We are today, it is people, it's the multiracial schools are everywhere. There's a community of people that have trusted each other. They've learned to live with each other. They've learned to trust each other. They've crossed boundaries.
Yeah.
But sometimes it just doesn't go away.
It doesn't.
It takes time for these relationships to be established. But I think we just need to start somewhere.
We do. And if you listen and stop talking, that's a good start.
Yes.
And And I think from what I've seen, because you are also a third culture person,
Yes.
it is easy for you to go to other cultures.
Yes, it's true.
And I find the same with my husband and I. When I see someone from a different culture, I want to know them.
Right.
Because I know what it's like to be an immigrant.
Right.
I know how hard it is.
Yes.
And
yes.
we'll often say,
Mhm.
if you need help with figuring anything out,
Awesome.
please call us. Here's our
That's
number.
amazing.
Because you understand, you
Mhm.
have to listen to their story,
Right.
and then you start building relationship. And
That
I
is
heard your
amazing.
husband say,
Yeah.
because they came into our lives,
Mhm.
we felt it was safe
It was safe.
to get into theirs.
Powerful.
Powerful.
Yeah. Well, time does go by really
It does.
quickly.
It does.
And I know
We
we've
could
got
talk all
lots-
day.
We could talk all day. But I just wanted to, end our conversation and just once again, just say how honored I am that you are in my world, that
Same.
you are family,
Same.
more than a friend,
That's right.
a member of my family. And we are there for each other.
Yep.
I know when you mean I am there to help, I am there to walk with you, you really mean it. And so I'm so thankful that you've decided to go on this amazing journey with me. And as we highlight the amazing women that are out there that need to be celebrated,
Yeah.
that need to tell their stories. And so stay tuned. We are going to be on Facebook. Please like us on Facebook. Send us a comment. If you know a wonderful lady in your life that needs their story to be told, that needs their story to be heard, please send us a comment, send us a message. We would love to have the chat and
Yes,
sit
please.
down with them. And we will also be on YouTube. And so stay tuned for more amazing spotlighting greatness in the women of today. Thank you.
Thank you.